You know, we talk about the deep state, we talk about the globalists.
Inflation versus deflation. Well, I mean,
here at Mar-a-Lago.
I'm baffled that this isn't front page news.
Do you guys support a specific political party, or do you dislike both of them?
Oh, it worked like a charm on you guys.
Let's go, Brandon.
What's up, guys? Oh, sorry for the wait. I obviously was supposed to start at 8, then 8:30, then 9, but you know, when PBD calls, you gotta take the time to talk with PBD. So just meeting with him quick. All is good, but I mean, all is really good in the political world. Did you see what Caroline Levitt came out and said today? So a lot of these tax cuts that they're going to do, stuff we've heard before, but then like the second half of them, stuff that we have not heard before. And they want to say Trump's going to go and protect and help out all these billionaires. No, he's dropping the hammer on all the loopholes they use for the tax cuts and whatnot. Check this out.
So these are the tax priorities of the Trump administration that the president has laid out for members in that meeting today. No tax on tips, which is obviously a very public campaign promise that the president made. No tax on seniors' Social Security. No tax on overtime pay. Renewing President Trump's 2017 middle-class tax cuts. Again, these are the president's priorities. Adjusting the SALT cap, eliminate all the special tax breaks for billionaire sports team owners, close the carried interest tax deduction loophole, tax cuts for Made in America products. This will be the largest tax cut in history for middle-class working Americans. The president is committed to working with Congress to get this done.
So the first few things we heard during the campaign, but the SALT tax, the state and local income tax, didn't hear that before. The sports team billionaires did not hear that one before. The carried interest loophole, last time we heard about that was in the debates with Hillary Clinton. If you guys don't remember, he called out Hillary for saying that, yeah, I use these things, but like a lot of your friends use them too. So this is like a serious FU to the billionaires. Like, if you don't know what these things are, so sports teams owners, they're able to pretty much write off a lot of the things, like the assets they have as depreciation, so they don't get taxed on their year-to-year stuff. And then when they sell the team, they get to sell it as and get taxed as a capital gains tax. So that's 20% instead of 30% to 37%. Then the carried interest loophole, that means that people who are investors or run a hedge fund or real estate developers, they could get taxed at that 20% rate instead of the 37% rate. So like serious things here. And then he wants to do a tax cut on Made in America products. So for anybody who's saying that the tariffs are going to be inflationary or whatever, that's a straight counter argument to this. But I mean, my God, I was almost kind of regretful to have the guy on last night because there's so much to talk about that I didn't really get to get into. But by the way, let me know if you enjoyed that last night or not. I was kind of laughing because I don't know, the guy seemed kind of stuck in his ways about the whole JFK thing, but yeah, we really scratched only just surface level. So I want to retouch a lot of those stories, but my God, what they're finding with the healthcare, or excuse me, the NGO, the US aid. Like, I have a chart right here that's gonna blow your freaking mind with NGOs. So check this out. Ready? Look at this. Look at how parabolic NGOs have went over the last 50, 70 years. Check this out. Let me get my NGO chart. Look at this shit. So 1948, there's 40 NGOs, right? After World War II, after the military industrial complex is born. Look at how parabolic this thing goes. 40 NGOs in 1948. Then by 2010, they have 3,300, pretty much 3,400. And then like they stopped counting on this chart after that. But luckily, there's another chart. Okay. So let me grab this right here. This one goes all the way to 2020. And like there's two parabolic shifts with this. So, you know, you see one of the parabolic shifts, it gets kind of crazy after, what was that, 98? Starts ripping higher. I mean, it really got crazy. It really got crazy in 92. That's interesting. The most significant jumps from 48 to 68, and then yeah, it gets really out of control from 68 to 92. But then look at this. Look at what happens in 2010. And like, no wonder they cut this thing off in 2010. So from 2010, see, so this is pretty much where that chart cuts off, like right around here. Then the thing freaking doubles almost in the last 10 years. So 5,000 NGOs. So we've really only hit the tip of the iceberg with this USAID thing. I don't know what to call it, USAID or USAID, but like, and now they're cracking open books on Medicare and Medicaid. Like, that might be something that you kind of roll your eyes at, but like, that's the biggest thing that I'm excited for. Like, I've been saying this for years. There's not a bigger, dirtier, sleazier, more corrupt or ripe for corruption pile of money in the world than Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. So check this out. I have the government budget for Medicare, Medicaid. Let me pull this thing up real quick. So we're talking about $1.7 trillion, bigger than the military budget. Like, I cannot even fathom what they're about to find with this. I mean, here it is. Here it is. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So top spending for the government. Social Security, let's put that aside for a second, but health, $889 billion. Then Medicare, $848 billion. So that's what they're cracking open right now. And what they're about to like start digging into. And I cannot imagine what they're about to find out this. Like, you know how many doctors, how many insurance people have gotten rich, like hundreds of millions of dollars off of doing absolutely nothing, just fake fraudulent medical claims. Like, this is a crazy thing. And I mean, I talked about the defense world the other night, how they price gouge and whatnot. Like, they'll charge $4,000 for a soap dispenser, but this is about to get wild. So let me share this article real quick. So, and I mean, it's funny. It's like, by the way, this is the destruction of the deep state. Like now we've cracked the code. This is like because like all the money in the world's available to people in the U.S. government, but like, it's not like you could directly grab it from the Fed or from the Treasury and start using it. You have to send it to something where you could legally send it back to you. So, like USAID giving money to Politico, allegedly giving money to AP News, allegedly giving money to BBC. So this is like all really like showing like the saying, like the emperor has no clothes moment. Let me grab this. Here we go. Wall Street Journal. DOGE gets access to Medicare and Medicaid payment systems in searching for fraud. So let's take a look at how they're spending this one. DOGE aids search Medicare agency payment system for fraud. Elon Musk's allies have been on site at Centers for Medical and Medicaid Services offices this week. I am so excited about this one. CMS is the center for much of the U.S.'s complex healthcare economy. Representatives of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency have been working at the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, where they have gotten access to key payment and contracting systems, according to people familiar with the matter. The DOGE representatives have been on site at the agency's offices this week, people said, and they are looking at the system's technology as well as spending that flows through them, with a focus on pinpointing what they consider fraud or waste. DOGE representatives are also examining the agency's organized design and how it is staffed. The people added. White House and DOGE officials didn't comment. Musk on his X platform posted, "Yeah, this is where the big money fraud is happening," referring to the Medicare agency in a report of another user who referenced the journal's reporting. Musk's allies have moved swiftly to exert control over the vast swaths of U.S. government, including at the Treasury Department, U.S. Agency for International Development. They have demanded access to the sensitive information at federal agencies and laid out plans to block spending they deem excessive. A CMS official said that the agency has two senior veterans who are leading the coordination with DOGE, and that the CMS leaders are taking a thoughtful approach to see where the there may be opportunities for more effective and efficient spending in line with meeting the goals of President Trump. CMS in particular is highly political and highly politically and economically sensitive agency, is the nerve center of much of the nation's complex healthcare economy. By the way, guys, so I've read a lot of books about this before, because like most things in government, you can look at it and say like, okay, obviously we should do it this way, but healthcare might be one of the more complex ones where even like, you know, people on the rational side of things don't have like a clear cut way that things should be. Like there's a million problems you could point to. One of them is there's a shortage of physicians. You know, I showed that chart the other day that shows like the growth in physicians versus the growth in hospital administrators over the last 50 years. Administrators go parabolic, physicians just stagnant. So like, and, you know, I can't even begin to tell you how many people I know who are like would have been fantastic physicians, like check every box possible, and like they had to go through this grueling process to get into the school. Then, you know, they only have like, well, like a couple hundred slots in the school and reject all these great applicants when like the entire nation is facing a shortage of physicians. I forgot what the number is, but our ratio of physicians to people looking for a physician or just people in general is like much lower than other countries. So that's one of the big problems. So nerve center of nation's complex healthcare system with outlays of about 1.5 trillion in fiscal year 2024, or about 22% of the federal total. All right. So this is like the nucleus of federal spending, right? Like we crack open the books in this thing, like we could find out that, you know, half of it to 2/3 of it are just total bullshit and corruption. So with around 6,700 employees, it oversees Medicare, the health coverage program for older and disabled Americans, and Medicaid for lower income enrollees, among other areas. Many veteran CMS staffers have worked there for decades, and one of the systems accessed by the DOGE representatives is a CALM, or the CMS Acquisition Lifestyle Management System, which includes information about contracts according to people with knowledge of the matter. One of the people familiar with DOGE's work at the CMS said that, to their knowledge, Musk allies haven't yet been given access to the databases that include identifiable personal health information or Medicare or Medicaid enrollees. DOGE also hadn't yet accessed a sensitive accounting system called HIGLAS, HIGLAS, or the Healthcare Integrated General Ledger Accounting System. That's the big prize right there. The DOGE access is read-only, meaning that its affiliates cannot make changes to the system the person added. CMS payment structures are complicated and they vary by program, often involving layers of contractors and other companies. Much of Medicare, for instance, now goes through private insurers. Ding, ding, ding. Like, just in my small circle of friends and family, like, I can tell you like 5 stories right off the top of my head of people I hear of that got like insanely rich and then went to jail off of doing absolutely nothing because of a freaking Medicare or Medicaid scam, or were involved in medical insurance companies. Like, this is such a low oversight thing. It's like whenever you have a giant pile of money like this, so many people get rich in an illegal manner. So now goes through private insurers, which are paid by the federal government. Again, much of the Medicare system, for instance, now goes through private insurers, which are paid by the federal government. That's the key right there. So Medicaid is jointly overseen by federal and state officials, and federal payment typically flows to the states. The federal government has enforcement efforts around healthcare fraud at the Justice Department, the Department of Health and Human Services Office, Inspector General, and CMS itself. Dr. Mehmet Oz, the high-profile physician, former television host, has been nominated to lead CMS. Great. But it hasn't yet been confirmed by the Senate. Several CMS officials who are expected to work under Oz have already taken over at the agency. All right, so watch this. I'm going to type in Medicare, Medicaid fraud, and watch how quickly something comes up. Medicare and Medicaid fraud. So let's see. Typed in Medicare, Medicaid fraud. Medicaid whistleblowers award $37 million plus interest So that's how crazy it is. They're willing to throw that out there for the fraud that's going on. No Medicare fraud here, says federal judge in case of foreign physicians in operating room. Let's see. Maybe if I just do one of them. Oh, see, my bad. It auto-corrected and put in Prevention Act. Okay. Serial scammer gets up to 25 years for Medicaid fraud 6 hours ago. Oh, paywall. Great. Everything's got a paywall now. Stories. As Medicare fraud spreads, SFLA tops U.S. for billions lost. Some spent on Lambos and Lux watches. For 2 decades, the Justice Department has spent a sizable fortune cracking down on criminals ripping off Medicare. But for federal health insurance programs still bleed billions each of dollars a year due to persistent fraud in Miami and other hotspots across the country. Although authorities have won thousands of fraud convictions, technology has made it easier for criminals to steal millions of patients' identities off the internet to churn out false Medicare claims. Then the launderer, they then launder the illicit profits through shell companies, bank accounts, and luxury assets, not unlike drug traffickers, federal officials say. South Florida still ranks as the nation's top healthcare fraud capital, where medical equipment scams involving knee and back braces continue to flourish alongside more sophisticated billing schemes. In the expanding field of telemedicine and genetic cancer testing, but such criminal activity has evolved into a franchise of fraud, expanding far beyond this region into metro areas in New York, Houston, Detroit, LA, to name a few, according to officials. Earlier this year, for example, federal prosecutors charged a Phoenix couple who owned a wound care business and 2 nurse practitioners with conspiring to defraud Medicare out of $900 million by targeting elderly patients, many of them terminally ill. So think about that. One instance, they're able to almost obtain $900 million. So now cast that out across the entire country. This is one instance of them trying to commit Medicare or Medicaid fraud, and it's worth $900 million. So Medicare paid the couple $600 million as part of their fraudulent billing scheme, averaging more than $1 million per patient for medically unnecessary or ill-advised amniotic wound grafts. Amniotic wound grafts. So yeah, $1 million per patient, and it's fake claims. The couple who received huge kickbacks from a company that supplied the expensive skin grafts bought a Ferrari, a Mercedes-Benz, gold bars, and nearly $6 million mansion, according to an indictment. In late June, the Department of Justice announced what authorities described as a snapshot of a recent healthcare fraud probes, including the Arizona case. The figures were staggering. 193 business operators, medical doctors, and other licensed professionals, including 38 defendants in South Florida, were arrested over a 2-week period on charges submitting $2.75 billion to fake Medicare as well as private insurers. As a result, the offenders raked in $1.6 billion in mostly taxpayer-funded payments from the financially fragile Medicare program for seniors. Meanwhile, authorities said that more than $231 million in cash, gold, and other illicit assets were seized. The numbers speak for themselves, said Jeffrey Epstein, the special agent in charge of the FBI's Miami field office. Healthcare fraud in South Florida is a large, growing problem. In recent years, one of the more troubling trends has been not only large-scale hacks of hospitals. Let me close this thing out. In recent years, one of the more troubling trends has been not only large-scale hacks of hospitals and insurers for patient identities, but Also, the rampant theft of Medicare IDs sold openly on the internet, which can be exploited for a variety of multi-million-dollar billing schemes. Selling Medicare ID numbers on the web, so consider the crime of Broward County's Charles McGeough, who posted an online advertisement promising, quote, Medicare data for sale. Last year, McGeough admitted in court that he illegally acquired Medicare beneficiary identification numbers from a Fort Lauderdale company called Lead Junkies to sell them for around 12 cents a number and made $310,000 from selling 2.6 million BINs. That's insane. McKinley was sentenced to more than 3 years in prison after pleading guilty to conspiring to violate the Medicare Access and Chip Reauthorization Act of 2015. Federal investigators are pursuing leads from his sale on strike forces using stolen IDs. So half of U.S. fraud cases half of U.S. fraud cases come from South Florida. So at least half all Justice Department's strike force prosecutions of healthcare fraud were filed in South Florida, with more than 2,500 convicted defendants since 2007. Authorities say the root of the problem is Medicare's pay and chase system, which involves paying claims from clinic owners, doctors, and other medical professionals within 30 days and then pursuing them afterward if their bills look suspicious. We're doing our best to keep up, and we're dedicating significant resources to only stop the bleeding, but to recover as much of the ill-gained funds as we can before it disappears, said Lynette Alvarez Carnes, an FBI supervisor special agent who has been fighting healthcare fraud rackets in South Florida for nearly 25 years. Because once the money is cashed out, it's hard to trace and recover. How's that possible? I mean, come on. Like, we always brag about the technology we have. We really can't trace where the money goes. Another problem is the nature of Medicare fraud. It's like a game of whack-a-mole in which authorities can target one type of scammer overbilling for costly cancer drugs, only to see other kinds pop up invoicing fraudulent claims for home insulin shots or COVID-19 testing during the pandemic. But what's really troubling is the resurgence of durable medical equipment, DME schemes that date back to decades, authorities say. For some schemes like DME, it's too easy and the money is too good, said Juinger, Chief Economic Crime Section at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami. So you get the point. Like, they're saying that this is hard to reel in, that it's hard to track. But, you know, if we want to get to a point where we don't pay any income taxes or pay barely any income taxes at all, like, this is really the route to get there. So, you know, one side of it is like the NGO stuff, you know, the defense stuff. Like I said the other night, we're getting totally screwed on our defense bills. Like, they're price gouging us on everything. Like, at the very least, they're charging us double what they should be charging us on all defense items. Then, you know, that's almost $1 trillion. Say you cut that in half. Or here, let's go to the federal budget right now. All right. So interesting. This one's just broken up as defense, non-defense. So you go to this thing and come on, where's the right one? So health, 14%, Medicare, 13%. So health is Medicare, or excuse me, Medicaid, and then Medicare, 13%. Then defense, 15%, right? So let's go to dollars. See, now this isn't even right. What the hell is this thing talking about? It's not 262 billion on defense. It's 900. Okay, so was it treasury.gov? I guess you can't trust that one. Let's find one that's actually correct. Let's try this thing out. I love a good pie chart. All right. So this doesn't seem quite right either. So, okay. This is 2021. Why is it saying that 46%? Oh, discretionary spending. Man, see, I don't like the way this one's set up either. Okay, here we go. So see, Medicare and health, 1.46 trillion. Then military looks small in this one. Where the hell is military in this one? See how freaking... All right. This one, here we go. This is the right one. All right. So Social Security, unemployment, labor. So this is pretty much welfare. This is the New Deal right here, right? So this is all the stuff that FDR left us with. This is Social Security. This is welfare. This is unemployment. Then you got the health stuff, which we were just talking about. Let's say you cut this in half. You know, like they crack open the books and there's a bunch of BS they're spending money on. Like, I imagine if they had these things that, like, they had the Department of Pillow Fluffiness or the Ministry of Elevator Music, like that they're spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on, that we're finding out about just with this one thing, with this one NGO, the USAID. That's the tip of the iceberg. So what are we going to find when we crack open the books on this? Like, let's say we could shave off half of that. Let's say we could shave off a third of that. You know, let's be conservative. Let's say we could shave off a third of that. 600 billion, right? 600 billion out of the 1.6 trillion. Defense. It's at like 900 and some change right now. Let's say we stop the price gouging, and, like, I know, crazy thought. It's like stop getting price gouged by the defense contractors. Say we could take half off that. We're already at $1 trillion, right? Then Social Security, like, imagine the fraud that goes into Social Security. Like, I mean, let's look that shit up right now. Social Security fraud. Or let's see, Social Security paid by year. Let me check how we're doing in the chat quick. 193, not too bad. How we doing, guys? Yeah, no, I totally agree. What's up, guys? All right, so what we got here? All right. The amount of Social Security paid per year depends on a number of factors, including age, blah, 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 retirement. Okay. Now I'm saying in total. $2023, the amount paid in Social Security benefits was 1.3 trillion. Okay. All right. So how much of that was fraud? Huh? Social Security fraud cases. All right, 4 weeks ago. Let's see how easy this is. Social Security fraud. Woman accused of embezzling $360,000. What did she do? A woman has been accused of pretending to be her dead mother, stealing $360,000 from Social Security Administration over a span of 25 years. Minnesota Star Tribune reported on Thursday. Why it matters? Social Security payments are made monthly to more than 65 million Americans who often rely on the checks for their retirement living expenses. However, the SSA now faces a funding crisis that could see its funds become insolvent by 2035. At that point, the SSA, so by the way, they take money out of these things all the time. Like in 2021, for example, when the Green New Deal, they called the Inflation Reduction Act, came out. Did you know that when they did the whole thing with the insulin prices, when they were able to come to an agreement to put a price cap on it, the money that they saved with that from the Medicare fund, they took out the difference of what they were saving to pay for freaking renewable, or to pay for electric cars. Now, before you say you don't believe me, watch, I'll type it in. Well, it was Medicare or Medicaid. Medicare money used for electric cars. Oh, AP News. Funded by the USAID. Politico funded by USAID. Let's see what they have to say. President Joe Biden's term comes to an end. Social media users are falsely claiming that his administration spent billions of dollars on the construction of just a handful of electric vehicle charging stations. This one claims misrepresent funding set aside by the 2021 Infrastructure Jobs Act, known as bipartisan law, blah, blah, blah. Biden has set a goal of creating 500,000 such chargers. Just a closer look. Does this one talk about the Medicare at all? Maybe not. Maybe not. Use Medicaid. Medicaid. Trust. Come on. Something. No. Too much NGO masses. And they freaking bury this thing. Taxpayers subsidizing rich electric vehicle owners. Nope. Well, let me find the next video I was going to play quick because I need to grab my computer charger. I'm just realizing. So let me find the next video that I was going to play. But I mean, it gets crazy to me that they got protesters outside the Capitol. They got like everybody's freaking out about this, and nobody on the left is like acting like they're shocked by what we're finding. They're acting like it's like more shocking that Musk is going through the finances of the government than the things that he's finding. Let's see, I'm gonna get a nice minute plus long video so I could run and grab my charger real quick. What's Maxine Moore saying here? But yeah, so how much money do you guys think that we could save? Like, or how much money out of the we spend 5-6 trillion per year on our federal budget? Like, what percentage of that do you think we're just throwing away? Like, I think it could be up to a third, maybe half is just totally wasted. And yeah, like we always ask, like, how is it that we're $36 trillion in debt? What the hell led to that? Like, then, you know, the answer is this. This is what led to that. Oh, interesting. So Trump's going to reclaim the classified documents from the FBI's Mar-a-Lago raid. Let's check this thing out.
Trump is now expected to get back the classified documents and other materials the FBI seized from Mar-a-Lago. Stand by for details on that as the new Attorney General is carrying out Trump's agenda to overhaul the Justice Department. Also tonight is President Trump's plan for a U.S. takeover of Gaza sends shockwaves around the world. His administration is suggesting he didn't mean it when he clearly and very publicly said he thought Palestinians should leave their home permanently. Plus, new signs of frustration and desperation as eggs are in short supply and prices are soaring. Authorities now trying to crack the case of a brazen heist of tens of thousands of eggs. Welcome to our viewers in the U.S. and around the world. Wolf Blitzer is off today. I'm Jim Sciutto, and you're in the Situation Room.
This is CNN Breaking News.
At first, to the breaking news here in the Situation Room. Sources tell CNN President Trump is now in the process of getting back classified documents seized by the FBI during the the 2022 search of his Mar-a-Lago estate. Our chief legal
Why?
affairs correspondent, Paula Reed, is gathering all the details. Paula, tell us what we're learning and what does the law say about this?
Yeah, Jim, now that this case is closed, President Trump is expected to get his stuff back, and that is expected to include some classified documents. Now, the FBI searched his Mar-a-Lago property back in August 2022, and at that time, the FBI found approximately 100 classified documents mixed in with other stuff like birthday cards, golf shirts, and even a photo of Celine Dion. And now that the case is closed, there is a process for him to get much of this back. But I think some people obviously have some questions about the classified materials. But now that he is president again, he has broad discretion over classified materials, which is why he is expected to have those returned when anyone else would not.
Paula, you also have some new reporting on Attorney General Pam Bondi's priorities as she takes over the Justice Department.
That's right. Today was her first day on the job, and she signed over a dozen memos laying out how the Justice Department will pursue the priorities of the Trump administration. So she laid out several different objectives. The first one, the most notable one, is that she's going to review cases that have been brought against President Trump. Not only the two federal cases, the classified documents case we just referenced, the election subversion case, both brought by Jack Smith, but also the case in Manhattan, the so-called hush money case where he was convicted, as well as a civil case that he also faced. She also signed memos dealing with everything from DEI, something we've seen across the government change as Trump has taken office, not only the internal policies, but externally. She said that the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department will be used to prosecute what she describes as illegal use of DEI in the private sector or educational institutes that accept federal funds. She also just laid out how their overall priorities will change and how she wants prosecutors to shift their focus to immigration, human trafficking, and protecting law enforcement. Another interesting change in these memos, changes at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm, ATF. They're going to shift their focus away from alcohol and tobacco enforcement and instead use those resources to pursue other priorities like immigration enforcement and drug smuggling.
Paula Reed, thanks so much. Our legal.
All right, so I'm going to put a poll up right now. Who's more corrupt, the FBI or the CIA? Guys, real quick, while I'm pulling up the next story, I pinned my Minnect at the top here, and I'm doing a quick little thing where I knocked the price down to like the minute by minute price to chat with me from, it was like $5 a minute before to like $1 per minute, because I don't know, I want to make it as cheap as possible to get to know all you guys. So anybody who wants to have a nice old conversation, get to know each other better, because I don't know, you guys are awesome. I wouldn't be doing this if you guys didn't come on back every night and get some value or some entertainment out of what I'm doing here. So, you want to have a 15-minute chat, it'll cost you $15. So, and then you're helping me out in the leaderboards. So if you're interested in that, the link is pinned in the top comment, pinned in the comment section there. So next, the reason I put that poll in the chat for who's more corrupt between the FBI and the CIA is because, in addition to the other great things that are happening, ready for this? So Trump, I think like this is Trump's doing. So Trump's offering to buy out the entire workforce of the CIA. So he's pretty much saying to them, hey, if you guys don't like what I'm doing, I'll give you your paycheck for the next 8 months, and you could get the hell out if you don't like it. So let's take a look at this article here. Let's check this thing out. Wall Street Journal. So CIA offers to buy out entire workforce as part of Trump makeover. So Central Intelligence Agency offered to buy out its entire workforce on Tuesday in what officials have said to be is a bid to bring the same agency in line with the president's priorities, including targeting drug cartels. The CIA appeared to be the first intelligence agency to tell its employees that they can quit their jobs and receive about 8 months of pay and benefits as part of Trump's push to downsize the federal government. The offer last month made to most civilian federal agencies exempted some categories of federal workers, including those with national security roles. The agency is also freezing the hiring of job seekers already given a conditional offer and an aide to CIA Director John Ratcliffe said, some are likely to be rescinded if the applicants don't have the right background for the agency's new goals, which also include Trump's trade war and undermining China, the aide said. We have to talk about China in a second. So we're finding out some interesting things about China and the trade stuff. Across government agencies, overall interest in the deferred resignation offer appear to be low. Career coaches focused on federal workforce say, citing conversations with more than 100 people. Many people have questions about whether they are legally able to take another job during the payout period or whether they can return to government under a future administration, these people said. There's no statutory authority that I can see for the president making this offer, said Senator Tim Kaine, that fucking guy, who represents tens of thousands of federal workers and said, no constituents have told him that they are taking the deal. Doing so would present risks, he said. The administration immediately knows you don't want to work for me. They'll find some other way to get rid of you. You should not raise your hand. Trump administration officials have said their offers are also meant to signal to those who oppose Trump's agenda to find work elsewhere. Ratcliffe told the White House to extend the same buyout package to the CIA. The aide said, believing it would pave the way for a more aggressive spy agency and hopefully aggressive against the right people. I mean, the CIA is supposed to be a spy agency against the rest of the world, excluding the U.S. They're not supposed to be used domestically. That's clearly stated. And it's a safe assumption, I would say, that they have, in fact, been used domestically in very recent history. A CIA spokeswoman said the move was part of an effort to infuse the agency with a renewed energy. In his confirmation hearing, Ratcliffe promised to launch a more hard-edged spying operations and covert action, naming drug cartels in China as key adversaries. To the brave CIA officers listening around the world, if all that sounds like what you signed up for, then buckle up and get ready to make a difference. He told lawmakers last month, quote, if it doesn't, then it's time to find a new line of work. You guys, let me tell you. So, yeah, our initial impression of the CIA and the FBI is like pretty much as bad as it gets, right? But I think like what we see and what we hear about them is maybe like the top 5% of the people that work there. Like, I wanted to work for the CIA at one point. That's what I went to school for. That's like what I thought about for a good 5, 6, 7 years of my life, like before going into school in the first few years of school. And yeah, a lot of people I went to school with had that same thought process. And we did it out of patriotism. You know, I thought it was a good way to like strengthen America, put America in a better position. But I mean, like I changed paths when I found out how it actually works. A lot of them didn't. And, you know, I know a lot of people that work in the CIA. I know a lot of people that work in like the intelligence agencies and all around the government. And like, they hate the way it's been. Like they would love to like do the things that like they actually know are good for the country. They would love, like, you know, you get this fictionalized version of how it works in the movies and TV shows and stuff, but that's the way it should actually work. Like you should be going after people who are objectively hurting the country. Like you shouldn't be running freaking drugs for the cartels. You shouldn't be running guns for terrorist organizations like they do. Like, why are we giving Syrian rebels arms? Why are we like helping the mafia and drug cartels bring drugs into the country to fund black op operations? You know, like that doesn't put America in a better position, but that's what they've been doing. It's documented. And then like, why are we undermining certain presidents? You know, like when did it become politicized? The 60s. So I like this. And I don't think they should stop here. I think that, you know, with stuff like this, with the military they already did it with, but then think about like all the doctors that lost their licenses for, you know, giving out ivermectin or prescribing ivermectin during COVID. Like those people should be brought back immediately. And then people who are on the opposite side of that, like they should be critically looked at. Because, you know, like they tried to do like this filtering out process of people who would make a stand about what they believe in like over the last 4 years. So we have to reverse the hell out of that in like a major way and then fortify it. So what else we got? Where am I? Trump's CIA will have a greater focus on the Western Hemisphere, targeting countries not traditionally considered adversaries of the U.S., the aide said. For example, the CIA will use espionage to give Trump extra leverage in his trade negotiations, potentially spying on Mexico's government amid the ongoing trade spat, the aide said. Interesting stuff to be disclosing. The CIA will also take on a significant role fighting the Mexican drug cartels, the aide said, which Trump would designate a terror group. Yep, blah, blah, blah. For the decades after its creation, the CIA was focused on America's rivalry with the Soviet Union. After 9/11, the agency transformed much of its workforce into the shadowy paramilitary force that could kill terrorists with drones. In recent years, the CIA has shifted back and focused on countries including China, which has been widely viewed by the national security officials as the U.S.'s greatest long-term threat. Yeah, I had a strong feeling, like as far back as 8 years ago, that our strongest long-term threat was a large portion of our own government, which is being routed out now. So, in my opinion, the greatest national security threat is things like USAID, things like that, things they pay for, the media companies they pay for, the fake protesters they pay for, the politicians they pay off. That's our greatest national security threat. So, like the curtain's been pulled back. We live in a new freaking world right now. Like their system is destroyed, and then even the influence they have, this is like the greatest example of power versus force I've ever seen. If you haven't read that book, it's about like exactly that. Like one side, it's like organic, look at Trump, grassroots movement, right? Genuinely saying things that people want to hear, things that resonate with them, things that got them excited. You can't fake that. You can't fake the passion, people pursuing what he's saying, people going to his rallies. And then the other side, like totally brute force manufactured, like paying people to protest, paying people to show up at rallies, paying freaking journalists and media to write certain things about you, paying fact checkers to censor you, paying social media companies or threatening social media companies to censor things. So that's power versus force. And like in hindsight, what a freaking blessing. Honestly, it's crazy to say, but what a blessing that Trump didn't win in 2020, because like this wouldn't have went down this way if he won in 2020. Right now, the system's being the swamp is literally being drained right now. It's crazy to say, but the swamp is literally being drained. So it's not just happening at the CIA, it's also happening at the FBI. So check this out. Where should we go? So FBI turns over details of 5,000 employees who worked on January 6th case against Trump. The Justice Department has agent sue. Purge begins as DOGE enters FBI to need. Here we go. Let's go to the purge. The purge. It's hilarious to see BBC articles now in Politico articles. Purge begins as DOGE enters FBI to obtain names of 5,000 agents who worked January 6th cases and face firing. Get that out of the way, ad. The FBI is being forced by Elon Musk, DOGE, to hand over the names of 5,000 officials who worked on January 6th cases. Yeah. Those officials could face being fired for failing Trump's loyalty test, being look how they're writing this thing, being given to rank and file employees. Officials working for Musk at DOGE were spotted by CNN entering FBI headquarters on Tuesday in Washington, D.C. to collect information. FBI agents filed a lawsuit Tuesday trying to block the release of their names or identifying details after Trump administration officials demanded documents about who worked on January 6th related cases. The agents say their jobs could be terminated within days. The loyalty test asks questions such as, what was your employee role in the investigations? What was your wasn't tells that? Or prosecutions relating to events that occurred at or near the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. It then lists a series of boxes that includes investigatory work such as surveillance, a grand jury subpoena, or an arrest. According to the lawsuit, the very act of compiling lists of persons who worked on the matter that upset Donald Trump is retaliatory in nature. Oh my God, this fucking thing. It says that the move was intended to intimidate agents and other personnel and to discourage them from reporting any future malfeasance and by Donald Trump and his agents. Shut up. The group of agents was warned of unlawful and retaliatory actions against them and said the information sweep could violate civil service protections. Last week, several top FBI agents and Justice Department officials were involved in Trump investigations were pushed out. I'm glad this freaking thing popped up. I wanted to show this clip actually. Let's see if we're gonna get ads. I'll grab it on X. But man, what a freaking time to be alive. What a freaking time to be alive. It's insane. Let's see. There's like a whole lineup of belligerent, angry Democrats outside the Capitol right now. Let's see. Who do we want to go to first? Is this real? No, it's not real. Here we go. Oh, here we go.
Their violation of civil service laws. We will fight their violation of civil rights laws. We will fight their violations of separation of powers. We will fight their violations of our Constitution of the United States of America. We will not shut up. We will stand up. We will speak up. We will rise up. It is time, as the African spiritual says, for us to lift every voice in condemnation of what's going on. We will fight their violation.
Why so angry, Corey? What's the matter? Oh, damn it. Why so angry, guys? I don't get it. We're just sorting out the books. What's the problem? We're just making sure we're not, like, they always complain about the taxpayers and democracy and what the people want. Like, the people want to know what they're spending money on. What's the problem? Oh, this freaking guy, Coons. Listen to this freaking guy.
USAID saves lives, makes peace, protects our planet, stabilizes our world, does great work. Let's cheer for the men and women of USAID. If DOGE wins and our foreign aid is completely shut down, if Elon Musk wins and our foreign assistance completely ends, who will cheer and who will win?
Yeah.
The cartels will win.
What?
Terrorists will win.
What?
Russia will win. China will win. This effort is not efficient. It is not sane. It is not respectful. And it does not make America safe.
Like, how do you see what this thing has been spending money on and say that with a serious face? Well, I get how he says it because the world he lives in benefits from this and is protected by this. But like, the people out there, unless they're paid, which, like, I imagine these people are paid. Like, what are the odds that the protesters here that are behind them in this extremely tight shot, which it literally could be 20 people right there just like huddled up together with the way the shot's framed. But like, who's at home right now, like making a sign saying, no, we need US aid. We, like, the world's going to fall apart if we take away the 40 to 70 billion dollars that US aid gives. And like, there's literally pictures of terrorists with rocket launchers, like inside a tent that has US aid logos on it. All right. Like, there's the freaking like ministry for everything. Like, there's a ministry for pillow softness, a ministry for like elevator music, like stuff where they're not even trying to hide the money laundering. So like, whoever is freaking out about this, it's a very good filtering system to why does this keep doing this? It's a very good filtering system to show like who benefits from the system the most. All right. Like, there's a million of these freaking things. Oh, Biden spoke about USAID. Oh, what's Biden saying? What is Biden saying?
My fellow Americans, it's your boy Dank Brandon.
Oh,
I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
That's a fake one. Your boy Dank Brandon. Oh, and so this rumor came out last night that Ben Stiller and Sean Penn might have received $4 million from this. They're saying that it's fake. It's not verified yet, but just the idea, like, if this is this would be like, what a freaking cherry on top. So not confirmed yet, but the rumors floating around out there. Now watch this with like the lens of maybe he did get paid to go there. Maybe, just maybe.
Hello, really nice to meet you. Thanks for taking the time.
Great honor from you.
No,
we know you very well.
It's a great honor for me, and nice to see you. It's really wonderful. You're my hero.
You're my hero. You're my hero.
You quit a great acting career for this.
Not so great.
No, but pretty great. But what you've done and the way that you've rallied the country and what, for the world, it's really inspiring. So
it's too much for me. Chief of office. Yeah.
Well, nice
to meet you. I understand that is in information in media. Yes, that there are a lot of information that it's not safety in Ukraine. So, but we know it because that is the war. It couldn't be safety everywhere.
Right.
But very important for us that people don't forget. It's not interesting to speak about the war every day, just for audience, for different people. But for us, it's very important.
Yeah.
When people forget to speak about it, the influence and how to push to Russia, it's very difficult. Thanks to such people like you. Yeah. So we can do it.
I feel it's hard to understand what is actually going on here if you haven't been here. We were talking about just the actual impact of coming here, and I just was in Irvine this morning, and
where you
Irvine?
Yeah.
And
so you saw everything.
Yeah. I mean, so the level of destruction, I mean, you see it on television, exactly what you're saying. You see it on TV, you see it on social media, and it's something else to actually see it and feel it, and then to talk to the people. We talked to a bunch of people this morning.
It feels like Meet the Fockers. That's the thing with actors, though. I mean, the funniest thing, though, was when Leonardo DiCaprio came out and was trying to like give his quick message for Kamala, and like even Leo, one of the greatest actors ever, like couldn't act like he actually liked Kamala. Now I'm just showing random shit here at this point, but watch this. Like, this came across today. So state representative Lori Pochotsky said she sterilized herself thanks to President Trump.
I just wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about how I'm so immensely grateful for all of the work that has gone into advancing abortion rights. Obviously, voters protected the right to abortion in our state's constitution. Here in the legislature, we've been expanding that right and the accessibility to it, but there's a lot more work to do. So the anniversary of Roe v. Wade is a really good time to reflect on everything that we've gotten done, but also acknowledge that we still have our work cut out for us. I just wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about how I'm so immensely grateful for all of the work that has gone into advancing abortion rights. Obviously, voters protected the right to abortion.
So that video does not say what the description says, Colin Rugg. What's going on here? So you see what I'm seeing here. So it says, Michigan State Rep Lori Pochotsky says she sterilized herself thanks to President Trump. The pro-abortion advocate says she refuses to be treated like currency, which is why she sterilized herself just under 2 weeks ago. Quote, I underwent surgery to ensure that I would never have to navigate a pregnancy under Donald Trump's administration. I refuse to let my body be treated as currency by an administration that only sees value in my ability to procreate. You know people who are who are questioning how serious this is, I'm going to repeat myself. I'm a sitting government official opted to voluntary sterilization because she was uncertain she'd be able to access contraception in the near future. That's madness. Like, you know, you can't reverse that, right? Like, I don't know. That's sickness. That's mental illness. It's sad. She's probably definitely gonna regret that one day. I mean, like, it's a biological imperative to want to have a kid. Like, even if it scares the hell out of you, like, you're gonna want to have a kid at some point, most likely. Like, if you're a woman, especially, and if you don't want to have a kid, something's wrong up there. Oh, what's this one? I wanted to show you this one too.
So this is a 19-year-old high school graduate who has used the unfortunate nickname Big Balls online. So that would be one way that we could refer to him. He is now working at Musk's behest inside DOGE. And we looked into his background. And so we found, several notable things, Aaron, one of which is that this individual has founded multiple companies, including one with another unfortunate name, Tesla.Sexy LLC, which he established in 2021. He would have been around 16 years old. Now, this LLC controls dozens of web domains.
So, Kara, you hear this, and you have known Elon Musk for years. So now you look at these young men who are now in data and in the private information about maybe hundreds of millions of American citizens as young as 19, the big balls here that Katie's talking about. Most of them are in their early 20s. There's an exception I'm going to get to in a minute. I'm curious, though, Kara, how well does even Musk know these young men, do you think?
I have no idea. I think there's no vetting whatsoever, as you can see, that's taken place. It took Katie and the really great team. Wired has done an astonishing job here. I could make a joke that's probably why he was hired for all this ridiculous nonsense and other nefarious things. But, there's an expression in technology that's not it's a feature, not a bug.
Like, they're more outraged about that than what these people are finding. That's the crazy part. But, like, I would venture to say that most of these things, like CNN, exist because of the things that are being stripped away right now. Oh, what do we have here? That's what I love about the trending page on X. Like, you just go to the trending page every hour or so and you find some crazy shit. Look at this.
More than $10 million in taxpayer funds that were spent creating transgender mice, rats, and monkeys. These DEI grants funded painful and deadly transgender experiments that forced lab animals to undergo invasive surgeries and hormone therapies at universities across the country. For example, the Biden-Harris administration spent $2.5 million taxpayer dollars to study the fertility of transgender mice. Let that sink in. We spent over $2 million studying the fertility of transgender mice. $1.1 million was spent to find out if female rats receiving testosterone therapies to mimic transgender men were more likely to overdose on a party drug, commonly used in the LGBTQ community to induce drug-fueled what's called, quote, chemsex. I asked my staff what was chemsex and the chemical, and I guess it's something called GHB, which is a date rape drug, and also a drug that's used recreationally. So we spent over $1 million to find out if female rats receiving testosterone therapy were more likely to overdose on a date rape drug. Like, that's what your taxpayer dollars were being spent on.
Yeah, times a million. Like, this is one tiny example of that. And just, it's a drop in the bucket. But what could $2 million do for, like, I don't know, somebody who's homeless? Like, they always complain about homelessness, right? They always complain about a ton of things that they say, like, we need, like, they complain about Ukraine so much. So you're giving money to study transgender mice instead of your precious Ukraine or your precious homeless problem. Like Democrats should be pissed about this. I mean, shit. But I just had thought when she's saying this. So yeah, do what you want and whatever. But like, this whole gay drugs party thing, like, it's really the height of selfishness, because like, you know, there's temptations and stuff out there, but to like straight up have sex with somebody that you like, you know, you can't have kids with because like you're the same sex, like that's just straight what's it called, hedonistic. Is that where you're like just like seeking pleasure? Is that the right word? Hedonistic. What's the word for like if you're just like straight pleasure seeking, whatever it is. But that's like the height of selfishness. Like you're just going around like banging dudes, doing drugs, like to the point where the government's doing a study on it. And that's why they were like putting all this money into doing like to promoting gay stuff in other countries, because like they know it rips the society apart if you start pushing this stuff, because you know normal people are outraged by it, but like when it starts bleeding into their country, you know, like it's has the potential to have like a snowball effect or to be an infectious idea. And that, you know, I'm of the belief that that's why countries like Russia, North Korea, Hungary, a lot of these places that we have our trouble with, like a place like Russia, I don't think they're trying to like expand and invade as much as they're trying to keep Western influence out, because they know that we're like spreading this garbage stuff, like these infectious ideas. On a lighter note, I want to show this clip from Nancy Mace, one of my favorite clips I've seen all week. So well, they're having like this serious conversation, and where is that? Where is this freaking thing? You gotta see what she says to this guy who's just trying to grill her and be all serious. Just 1 second. Bear with me. If you haven't seen this, you're gonna want to see it. Come on, Mace, where are you? Oh, that's the picture I saw before with the USAID terrorist in the tent with a rocket launcher. Come on. Where is this freaking thing? I bookmarked so many things. Oh, Pam Bondi wants to crack open the Epstein list, and Dick Durbin, he blocked it for some reason. He blocked Marsha Blackburn from like when she filed to release the Epstein list. So that's weird. Quick little side note. No, I gotta find this thing quick. I'm gonna be stuck on it. Yes, here it is.
The gentlelady has used a phrase that is considered a slur in the LGBTQ community,
love this,
transgender community. And let me please finish without interruption. And
tranny. I don't really care. You want penises in women's bathrooms, and I'm not going to have it.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Let
It's disgusting.
the gentleman state. The gentlelady
I love
has
it.
used a phrase.
We need more of that. Oh man. All right, so let's see. Oh, a little Doge action here.
Hi, welcome to the Department of Government Efficiency. We were looking over last year's budget and we found some anomalies that we wanted to address. Okay, if you're talking about the military budget, if you want a safe country, that's how much we... Oh, we didn't even start looking at that. Get ready for that. No, we were looking at this list here. We wanted to start with the National Pillow
Here it
Fluffing
is.
Initiative.
Yep.
I mean, don't you want your pillow to be fluffy? Not when you're spending over $1 million of taxpayer money. We're cutting that. Also, the Bureau of Elevator Music Standards. Explain yourself. Forgive me if you're trying to set the vibe, bro. $800,000 a year. The National Velcro Noise Study. What's the problem here? You don't have to spend $1 million a year to know that Velcro noise is annoying. Now, the program of Ice Cube Uniformity and the American Cloud Watching Fund.
Cloud
That's
watching.
a problem, but I'm kind of OCD and I like it when my ice cubes are all the same size and shape, you know? Yeah, we all do, but that doesn't mean you spend $1 million. Now, the Federal Kazoo Orchestra grant, it's amazing what they could do with those things, honestly. The Federal Bureau of Traffic Cone Counting, $256,343. You're welcome. Now, that's what I call $800,000 well spent.
Imagine that shit every single year. Like, no wonder we're 36 trillion in debt. Like, all those numbers individually sound like small numbers. Like, yeah, 800,000 in the grand scheme of things compared to 5 trillion is not a lot, but if you have thousands of agencies or thousands of grants that give out shit like that, yeah, it adds up. But then to have this type of response from it, you're really hitting a nerve. And by the way, that video is retweeted by Elon Musk, so it's not just some random kid. That apparently that kid is actually working with the DOGE.
It's the time when we have to stand up and to fight, to not stand on the sidelines, to have people by the millions are going to have to stand up and protest. When we come back here the next time, there should be hundreds of thousands and millions of people descending on Washington, D.C. This is the time when we have to stand up.
Sounds like an awful lot like an insurrection. They're getting desperate.
Electoral college votes this last November. That's right.
Bullshit, whatever, from taking away my boyfriend's fucking rights.
Deport Musk.
Deport
Musk. Deport Musk.
And then you got this guy saying he wants to impeach Trump for what he said about Gaza. No, he's moving too fast for them. He's moving too fast for them. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to respond. It's freaking beautiful. Maybe let's close out on this one. This one's a gem right here. So a little bit of Milton Friedman being executed right now.
Keep them or abolish them? Department of Agriculture.
Abolish.
Gone.
Oh,
Department of Commerce.
Abolish.
Gone. Department of Defense.
Keep.
Keep it. Department of Education.
Abolish.
Gone. Energy.
Abolish.
How?
Except that energy ties in with the military.
Well, then we shove it under defense.
That's
The little bit that handles the nuclear,
Right. That ought to go under
plutonium and so forth goes under defense, but we abolish the rest of it. Health and Human Services.
There is room for some public health activities to prevent contagion, such a thing as, for example.
So you'd keep the National Institutes of Health, say, and the Center for Disease Control down
not
in
the
Atlanta?
National Institute.
Oh, no?
Those are mostly research agencies. No, that's a question of whether the government should be involved in financing research.
And the answer is no.
Well, that's a very complicated issue, and it's not an easy answer with respect to that.
We'll eliminate half of the Department of Health and Human
something
Services?
like that.
Okay, one half. There we go. Housing and Urban Development?
Out.
Oh, didn't even pause over that one. Department of the Interior?
Oh, well, but housing and urban development has done an enormous amount of harm. My God. If you think of the way in which they've destroyed parts of cities under the rubric of eliminating slums.
Jack Kemp.
You remember, Martin Anderson wrote a book on the federal bulldozer, describing the effect of the urban development.
Mm-hmm.
There have been many more dwelling units torn down in the name of public housing that have been built.
Jack Kemp has proposed selling to the current inhabitants of public housing their unit, their townhouse, their apartment for $1 a piece, and just shifting the ownership to the people who live in.
If you got rid of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would be worth doing that.
All right, done. That's gone. Department of the Interior, your beloved National Park Service.
Well, given that the problem there is, you first have to sell off all the land that the government owns. But that's what you should do.
But it could be done pretty quickly.
It could be done. You should do that. There's no reason for government to own. The government now owns something like 1/3 of all the land in the country.
And that's too much. Should go down to zero.
Should go down to, well, not entirely zero. They ought to own 5%. The land on which government buildings are.
Okay, terrific. Department of Justice.
Oh, yes.
Keep that one.
Keep that one.
Labor.
No.
Gone. State.
Keep.
Keep it. Transportation.
Gone.
Gone. The Treasury?
You have to keep it to collect taxes.
All right, collect taxes through the Treasury. Veterans Affairs?
Taxes.
You can regard the Veteran Affairs as a way of paying essentially salaries for services of those who have been in the armed force. But you ought to be able to get rid of it.
You should be able to pay it off.
Pay it off.
Pay off lump sums, perhaps.
That's right.
And just get rid of it. From 14 departments down to four
basic
and a half.
fundamental functions. What are its fundamental functions? Preserve the peace, defend the country.
All right.
provide a mechanism whereby individuals can adjudicate their disputes. That's the Justice Department. Protect individuals from being coerced by other individuals, the police function.
Right.
And now, this is both the central government and the state and local governments. The police function is primarily local and central.
Right.
And those are the fundamental functions of government, in my opinion.
Not too bad. Yeah, no, I'm right there with it. Like it's like when Malay was going across the board, like a flail. Like more than half this shit is just like where you create chaos, like where you almost create a need, you know? You get us like dependent on the giant government system, like with welfare and social security. That's why FDR was such a freaking virus. And I mean, like when you find out what actually caused the Great Depression, you know, it was in large part the Federal Reserve that caused the Great Depression. And then FDR's madness with the New Deal and creating welfare, creating social security, like empowering unions. And then now that's probably almost half of our federal budget. Straight poison. But you know, it's like we were literally on track to like follow like the Roman Empire path of like just strip collapsing. But like, we have hope now. We could chip away at the national debt, which might cause some problems because like when you pay off debts, the destruction of money. But you know, there's definitely like a lot of excess in like certain areas of the economy, like where like, you know, the stock market's probably overvalued by like a good like 30-40% from what it should be. But interesting times. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if there's some type of market crash because like I think things like BlackRock, Vanguard, we're going to find a lot of government overlap between them, you know, because you don't become politically active the way that they did without having some relationship there. So we're going to make some fascinating discoveries over the next months and years. So thrilled about it. Super excited. But it was nice to be back one-on-one with you guys tonight. Let me see if there's any dope questions in here. Hit me with some questions right now. We'll do another 10 minutes. Then I gotta go to the gym. By God, if families decide to keep the Bible on the shelf, maybe Satan had a chance to corrupt the values of righteousness. Yeah, Steve. I mean, the no tax, no tea is such a brilliant way to do it because, you know, you want to lower the tax burden on like the right people and that's a very precise group of people right there, like people who are working OT, you know, backbone of society, like the hard workers out there. Like, you want those people to, you know, get like the full effect of working overtime. Like I remember when I worked overtime security, like it would get to a point where it wasn't even worth it at a certain point because like the way you get taxed on it, you like almost knock yourself up into the next bracket after a certain point. It's ridiculous. And we should really get to the point where we like, because think about it, $5 trillion budget, okay, and 80 billion of that comes from tariffs. The rest of it comes from taxes. Say our budget's like twice as high as it actually needs to be, right? We could bring tariff revenue up to $1 trillion, 1.5 trillion if we have zero tariffs on everybody right now. We put 50% tariffs on everybody right now. We would bring in 1.5 trillion in tariff revenue. All right. So then we'd only have to come up with $1 trillion to meet the full budget demand. Right. So that lowers the tax burden by like 80% on us. I don't know if you follow the math that I just did right there, but we bring the budget we bring our expenses down from 5 trillion to 2.5, right? With cutting out all the fraud and waste and abuse. We bring our tariff revenue from 80 billion, basically zero compared to the budget, up to 1.5. You can even say 1.7 trillion because we do $3.4 trillion of exports every year. We have no tariffs on anybody. If we brought our tariffs up to 50% on everybody, even say, let's be conservative and say 25%. So what's that like on 3.4 trillion? What's 25% of 3.4 trillion? That would be like 800 billion. Let's say 50%, you know, and it's 1.7 trillion. We have to come up with 1.7 trillion of tariff revenue. We have to come up with less than $1 trillion to make up the difference. So, you know, we use some of our assets, right? Like we don't get any yield on the government assets. Like, what if we sold our oil or something, you know, like actually took a percentage of the revenue from our oil, like didn't totally privatize it, like open up Anwar, generate some money off of Anwar, right? Supposedly it has more oil in Alaska than the entire Middle East, or not the whole Middle East, but then more oil than Saudi Arabia, right? So we have like all these assets that we don't use. Or what if we start making countries pay us for military protection, like Japan? We've given them military protection for the last, 70 years. We don't generate revenue from that. Like, you know, start forking it over. Germany. Does Germany give us money for military protection? Not that I know of. So there you go. Canada. Does Canada give us any money for basically not having to have a military because of us? You know what I mean? So we have some creative things that we could do. But point being, we could lower our tax burden by like 80%. If we just cut some waste, get smarter with our revenue. Like the fact that like 99.9% of our government revenue comes from taxes is crazy. What a lazy thing. Like it almost makes me wonder if they do it that way just to kind of like hold us down as much as possible. Because between that and not allowing the core essentials, the essential things you need to live to follow the natural cycle of what the economy does in terms of housing, food, energy, transportation, should be getting cheaper as the year's gone, but it's getting more expensive as the year's gone. I don't think that's an accident. Don't think that's an accident. Like zoning laws and freaking the cost of materials. Like why is lumber at an all-time high? You know, why is steel so expensive? Why is copper so expensive? Like all that shit should be dirt cheap compared to what it was. Like, you know, my grandfather was a home builder and he said that like it's like not even close to being profitable right now to build a single family home and flip it. Back in the day, you know, it was a serious business. It was a cash cow to build single family homes and flip them. But like the cost of materials, like you have to spend like $400,000 to build a house that you end up selling for $300,000. It's crazy. So, you know, I remember seeing that like there's more trees in the world than ever before. So like the price of lumber shouldn't be what it is, or like, you know, we could find cheaper ways to build houses. So really simple stuff. But like I said, I don't think they wanted it to be like that for us. And I've said it every show, like for the last 3 weeks, the basic things we need in life, like food, energy, housing, transportation, energy. Yeah, I said energy. Costs like 60% of the average salary right now for somebody to pay for that stuff. It should be like 5 to 10%. On that note, like I said before, guys, I pinned my Minnect in the comment section, lowered the price to like literally as low as it could be right now. So you guys could call me for like just $1 because I want to get to know you guys. I want to know. Me and Steve P talked the other night. It was awesome. And I want to do that with as many people as possible. So hit me up on Minnect. I'm doing myself a disservice by lowering it that much, but I don't care. I'm not going to leave it there forever, but hit me up on there. Well, I got the price that low because I don't know. We'll see how long it lasts. But love you guys. This is always great. And I will see you tomorrow night. God bless. Goodbye. Bye. You know, we talk about the deep state. We talk about the globalists. Inflation versus deflation. Well, I mean, here at Mar-a-Lago. I'm baffled that this isn't front page news.
Do you guys support a specific political party, or do you dislike both of them?
Oh, it worked like a charm on you guys.
Let's go, Brandon.